You don't design something that's already been created. That's remixing. That's rebranding. That's redoing it. A design is something that you're starting from scratch. And if your design for your life, your authentic life, is truly authentic, then you need to design it the way you need it to be. And only you can design the plan to pursue your authentic life. It's 7 o'clock, so we'll be punctual and be respectful of everybody's time. So as always, I want to start out these talks thanking all of you for taking time on what ends up being a beautiful fall evening to come join me for the third talk. So we're in about 25 minutes, we'll be halfway through the Keep Pursuing series as it starts. So I want to thank you for taking the time, because again, once again, you are giving me the opportunity to live my authentic life and pursue passions of mine, and without you coming, I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you all once again for coming. Good to see familiar faces again, get a new face here. So both are equally exciting. It's exciting to see people who come back, but it's also exciting to see people who come for the first time. And Peter, I'll call you out. Since it's the first one, I highly encourage you or anybody watching or listening to the replay to go back and catch the first two. But by not being here for the first two, you won't miss out on tonight's talk. You won't be lost because it's its own talk. It compounds together, but you won't feel lost in this. There's no cliffhanger from last week. All right, perfect. That's great. So a plug for the podcast. So the podcast, On Our Pursuit Podcast, this is more for those listening and watching the replay. We'll be changing its name soon to Life Design Plus, Mastering the Art of Living Your Authentic Life, but it's still under On Our Pursuit. And then these are all on my YouTube channel as well, so you can check those out. Tristan's somewhere here, but I want to thank her again for opening up Geist Coffee, allowing us to come here this evening. This is after hours for her, so I really appreciate her and Jeremy making their coffee shop our coffee shop for the evening. Last week I plugged the Naraja Blanco and the bacon, egg, and cheese on a jalapeno cheddar bagel. This week, as I encourage you to come back during regular hours and support Geist Coffee, I'll point out the Sunshine Chai. That is a Castelli family favorite. Ange likes it, Leo likes it, I like it. Silas says he likes it. I don't know if he's ever tried it, but the Sunshine Chai, you like that? It's a drink. So I'll plug those. So come back during regular hours and support them because they've been so supportive of me and allowing us to do this. And then I want to thank Morgan again for showing up because she is creating amazing photos, making me look really, really cool, and videos that I don't consider videos. I consider them memories. She made 2 from last week, which were awesome. And her and I don't really communicate and collaborate a lot about the direction of the videos she's creating. But if I were sitting down in front of a camera or in front of the computer to do it, I probably would do it exactly as she's doing it. The connection that her and I have built really quick is pretty cool, but that brings me back to a past talk and talking about synchronicities and people who come into your lives at just the right time. I think that is kind of how Morgan and I got connected. So Morgan, thanks again for making me look really cool. So, designing a plan for pursuing your authentic life. Now, this was the talk when I created the series that I was most worried about. And I was most worried about it because I was afraid that people were going to connect the fact that I am a financial advisor, that is my profession, and a financial advisor talking about planning in the evening has to be a seminar. There's got to be a sales pitch. Here it comes. He's going to try to get me to become his client. That is not what this series is, and that is not what this talk is. It's not a pitch. I'll never do a seminar, and I'm not asking you to be my client. Tonight's talk will be very little, actually, about finances. There's a small part of it, but the purpose of tonight's talk is to talk about all of the other areas in your life that are important for you to incorporate as you build a plan to pursue your authentic life. Or as I like to say, design a plan for the pursuit of your authentic life. Before we get into the planning and kind of how we go about that, there's a couple of words I want to highlight because I think they're important words. And as I have thought about how I want to communicate my message and the things that I think are important, I'm trying to be very intentional with some of the words. I'm very wordy, I get excited, and I talk real fast, so sometimes not all my words are intentional. But I've been very intentional about using the word design when I talk about creating a plan. And there's a reason behind that. When I came up with this idea of a plan, it could have been, writing, working up, crafting, creating, which wouldn't have been too bad because I like creativity. Creating a plan, those words would have worked. But to me, they're not as powerful as design. Because when I think about designing, I think about creating something brand new from scratch. When I think about designing, I think about thinking outside of the box, blazing new trails, creating something that only you can create. Designing it's more of an art form, at least the way I think about it. You don't design something that's already been created. That's remixing, that's rebranding, that's redoing it. A design is something that you're starting from scratch. And if your design for your life, your authentic life, is truly authentic, then you need to design it the way you need it to be. And only you can design the plan to pursue your authentic life. So that's why I really love the word design. That excites me because now we get to be creative. We get to write things on our terms. You're going back and talking about taking control of the pen to write the story of your life. You get to design the plan as you take back the pen to write the story to your life. So that's why I love the word design. That's why we're designing a plan, not just crafting or creating or writing. The other word I want to highlight is the word pursuit. That's another word that when I hear people talk about pursuing, or I hear the word pursuit, like I get excited. That's a word that excites me because when you pursue something, I think pursuing something you do tirelessly. You never give up. That thing that you're pursuing is so important that it's more than just chasing, it's more than just going after. Pursuing to me has a lot of emotion behind it, and whatever it is you're going after is really, really important. So the pursuit is persistent. The pursuit is built on passion. The pursuit is built to find your purpose. So when I thought about what it is we're doing, I didn't want to say, we're going on a journey to our authentic life. I do like the analogy of a journey, but to me that is not as intense as pursuit. So you can think of your pursuit as a journey, but pursuit is something stronger. So when I talk about pursuit, I mean it is the, pursuing your authentic life. Something that is so important, something you're so called to do that you're just not going to give up. And the thing that's cool about being a creator is you get to make stuff up. So not only do I love this word pursuit so much that I talk about pursuing your authentic life, I created a brand called Pursuit. I just stripped out all the vowels, like Peter's sweatshirt for financial advisor. I don't know why I do this, but I like to take vowels out. So I have a brand called Pursuit. It's PRST. And right now it's a creative outlet. These talks are put on by the Pursuit Production Company. Videos that I create are by the Pursuit Production Company. The podcast is a Pursuit podcast. It's a creative outlet, but it's called Pursuit because it's built on me pursuing my passions, doing things that I'm interested in, and that is my avenue to do all of those things, and I have kind of an umbrella to catch it. One day there will be a clothing brand that's attached to it. I also coined the term, in my mind, pursuit as a noun, which I know there's already a pursuit that is a noun, but pursuit with a capital P. So if you ever see pursuit written with a P, one day you're going to know exactly who the author of that article is. It's me, because I'm the only person who writes pursuit with a capital P. But that pursuit with a capital P is this concept of pursuing your authentic life. It's a noun. So we are on the pursuit of our authentic lives. It's more than just a pursuit of chasing something. So tonight I'm going to talk about pursuit a lot, and I wanted to make sure that if you've never read a daily note or you've never listened to a podcast, you know what the heck I'm talking about with this random usage of pursuit. Yes, it's not really the word in the way that I intend it to be. I'm making it up as I go. But guess what? These are my talks, and I can do whatever I want. So, just to set those terms and why I've chosen design and talk about pursuit, let's get into what do we need to be thinking about as we build and design this plan for your authentic life. And remember, this is not about financial planning and money. There's a lot of other things in your life. And we all come to tonight's talk or the replay from different positions. We're at different places on our pursuit, which means we may have different factors that are being worked into our life. So there are infinite number of things that you might need to plan for, to create a plan, to design a plan for your authentic life. And I'm not going to go over all of them. What I tried to do is pick a handful of them that would resonate with most people on some level, or these examples would encourage you to think about other things that might be unique to your situation. So I want to list them all out so mentally I don't forget them, and then I'll go back through all of them, and I won't spend too much time on every single one. There's a couple that I really want to spend a lot of time on. So some areas that you would want to plan for. How do you incorporate these things into your plan for your authentic life? Your family is one of them. And that's the one I'll spend the most time on because I think it's pretty important. Exploration or experimentation of yourself. And I'll explain what that means in a moment. Deciding what to postpone in your authentic life versus what needs to be a part of it today. Your career. All right, so think through it. Career, friends. Who's with you on this journey? Your network that builds upon friends. The continuation of your personal alignment. Because remember, we're talking about living our authentic life and pursuing it and building a plan. Like as you're building your plan, you should have found that alignment of spirit, mind, body, and money to be able to build that plan. You know where you're going now. So maintaining that alignment and also knowing when to pull yourself back into it. And then finally, finances, the money part of things, because we do need to have a plan for that. So we go back up to the top, family, and this is the one I think is most important. If you think about potentially where your pursuit might take you, from where you are today to what your authentic life might look like, that could mean some changes for you and your family. And if you're going on this pursuit yourself, not including your family, not telling them what you're doing or why you're doing, you might find yourself further down this pursuit without your family, depending on where you're going. You might be doing all of this personal growth. You might be doing these explorations. You might be doing these things that take you away from your family, and they might be thinking that you're trying to escape them and get away from them. So incorporating them into your plan for your authentic life is really important. Communication is key in all relationships, but also especially with your family. So an example that I can give to this is a recent one that I personally, kind of had. I read a book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. I highly recommend it. The story is bonkers. High level, this gentleman decides that he wants to spend his life meditating and doing yoga in the forest in Florida. And then in one moment he decides he's going to surrender his life's decisions to the flow of life. Whatever life brings to him, he's going to say yes to, even if he doesn't want to. And this thing takes him from a small plot of land in Florida to becoming a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, taking it public for hundreds of millions of dollars, owning all of this land, all because he decided to let the flow of life determine what he was going to do, and he was going to surrender to what it was. Crazy. And I fact-checked all of it. It's all real. You can pull up the company he was CEO of, and you can even pull up the lawsuits that came after the fact that he surrendered to navigate through. As I was reading the book, I just thought, man, there's a lot of truth to that sometimes because we want to control everything, we get in the way of what is meant to be for us. We become our own roadblocks. I want to try to let the flow of life control me more. And so I shared that with Ange. I told her about the book. I told her about the examples. And I said, you know what? I can't do what Michael Singer did because when he started his surrender experiment, he was single. He had no responsibilities. So if he wanted to live off of $300 a month, he could do so. I can't do that. And I don't want to do that. But I would like to see if I point my sail in a certain direction, if the flow of life will take me the rest of the way where I want to go. So I shared to her that there's going to be things where I kind of set things in and I just let go and I'm going to let things take the course of action they're supposed to be. This series is one of them. I stated a year or two ago that I wanted to be a public speaker. I wanted to get paid to speak. I enjoy being on stage. It's a lot of fun. And you can make decent money doing it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because that money is going to be used for good. So I said, I'm not going to wait for everybody to ask me to speak. I'm going to create my own series, point my sail in the direction of where I want to go. But once I create the series, I'm giving all the control of what happens to the flow of life. So I don't care how many people show up, if it's 1, if it's 100. I don't care how my delivery goes. I'm just going to do it and then see where it takes me. And the cool thing is we'll look back in a few years and we'll see where the flow of life took me. I'm pretty confident it's going to take me to the speaking engagements that I want. And I don't have to do anything other than just keep on doing the thing that I enjoy and let the flow of life take care of it. So that's an example of that might sound crazy, that if I really want to do this thing, I should plan everything out and be very tactical with it. But I set my sail in the right direction, and now it's on the flow of life, and I'm fine letting it take me wherever I'm supposed to go, at whatever speed I'm supposed to go. So I shared that with Ange, so she didn't think I was crazy as I did this series and what was from it. But it's communication. It's letting her know. There's tons of things that might come to your authentic life, and you need to incorporate your family as a part of it so they know. And importantly, show them how your authentic life includes them, assuming it does, so they can see that where you're going includes them and it's going to elevate them and help them. It's not that you're leaving them behind, it's that you're going to a place that's better for you, which will be better for them, and here's how you all fit in there. And hopefully that helps them examine their life and do the same thing. Now, I will warn you, it is a possibility, I don't think for anybody in here, but it is a possibility that in this experiment of planning out your authentic life, you realize that the relationship that you're in, whether it's marriage or not, isn't the right relationship for you and where you're going. So it is possible that this takes you down a path of where there is separation or there is a divorce. But I'm willing to bet that if this in your authentic life leads you to that, you already knew that was the situation. You already knew there was trouble with the relationship. It just was hiding. And this just brought this authentic life that's so important, just brought it to the forefront so you could handle it and move on. So it's not always going to be a positive conversation you have with your family, but I think it's an important one. And the final thing I'll say on the family part is this doesn't have to be a big event. You don't have to call the family together over a big dinner and make it very, very serious. You can if that's what you need to do, if it's that serious. But it could just be as little as sharing these ideas as you go, which I do all of the time and drive Ange crazy with my brainy ideas. But she knows what I'm up to. So when I do these things, she's not surprised. And she knows, because I'm keeping her up to date with it, that I want her and the boys to be a part of it. So how are you going to communicate with your family that the version of yourself they've known you to be for a long time, there are parts of that that are going to be changing? Why? What are the emotions for you behind it? So they can feel why it's so important. If they feel and understand why this change is so important to you, they're more likely to support you and be behind you. And then let them know that they are continuing to be an important part of your authentic life and that you're not going away with them. And if everybody's on the same page, I think you'll find them be very supportive, which will only speed up the progress that you make. So that's the importance of family. And the planning part is, how do you communicate with them? How do you keep them in the know of what's going on? The next one I mentioned was exploration and experimentation with the self. So I hinted on this a little bit in the past, but I think that there are potentially things that are going to come up in your self-examination and where you might be going that are passions or interests you've had that you've never experienced before. And the truth of the matter is, you won't really know if those interests or passions are something that should be more or not without experiencing what it's like to be that version of yourself. So I like to give the example of photography because I think it's really easy to relate to. But if you've always wanted to pick up a camera and become a photographer, but you've never actually done it, experiment. And just, hey, I'm going to take an hour every weekend and go shoot photos. And then I'm going to take another hour and I'm going to play around in Photoshop and edit them. And see, do I actually like being a photographer, or do I just like the idea of being a photographer? Because I see photographers out there and what they do seems cool and it looks beautiful, but when you realize how hard it is, you might not actually enjoy it as much as you thought. You never know if you don't experiment. So in that, how do you plan to allow yourself to experiment and explore different versions of yourself, whatever they might be? Because we all live busy lives. And I'm encouraging you to somehow find another hour in the 24 hours every day that we have to be able to try something new. So you've got to go through your day and be able to get a plan of, okay, how am I going to give myself the time to experience this version of myself to see if I should further explore it? Again, another planning opportunity. These planning opportunities are different than what we think about, or at least what I think about because I'm biased as a financial advisor. It's just, how are you going to do it? And it's very simple. It could be on a sticky note. It doesn't have to be a 50-page plan, but just, this is how I'm going to do this so I can experience this version of myself. Then that can bring us to, as you start to identify the things that you're interested in, determining what parts of your authentic life, the vision that you have for your authentic life, are supposed to happen today, and what parts might be part of your authentic life of tomorrow. And I hate giving stories of me, but right now, at this stage of my speaking career, I really only have stories of me to share. But it's well documented that I love California. And actually, I don't know how much it is of California itself, rather than it is the weather and the vibe and kind of the scene out there. But nonetheless, I love California. I think one day it will be a part of my authentic life. I don't know in what capacity, but right now, California is not right for my authentic life. It's a part of my future authentic life. And I'm okay with that because I know why that's there. I've chosen to delay California being part of my authentic life because it's not right for today. My authentic life today is centered around Ange and the boys, a lot on the boys because they're so active. And their happiness means more to me than sun 363 days out of the year. So how do I plan to keep my love of California still a part of who I am and give me the opportunity to one day be there? I got business trips. I was in San Diego 2 weeks ago to speak. I went surfing with a friend. I went to a meditation garden. I experienced California. I scratched that itch. I now know that Encinitas is where I'm going to end up when we go there. But that's enough. And I'll go back again a couple times this year, and I get to be there and experience it, remember why I love it, and have that vision for the future to excite me as well. So there will be different things. It doesn't have to be a move. It could be when you find the time to pick up the camera or whatever it might be, but you need to have a plan for determining how are you going to postpone the things that need to wait, and how are you going to make sure that those things that are important to you don't fizzle away because you're not giving them the attention today. How do you keep them a part of you if they're meant to be there? And I think part of it is they'll just naturally remain there because they're supposed to be there, but sometimes you need to give those things a little love to stay with it. So experimenting and exploring yourself. Next one is career, and that hits a lot of people. Now, not everybody's authentic life has to be a change in the career. Your career could be a means to an end, and that's perfectly okay. But I know there are a lot of people who are unhappy in the jobs that they hold. So if you're thinking about your authentic life needs to change the career, how are you going to make that change? Because there's a lot of scary obstacles to overcome. Income, is it the same? Can you make money? Benefits, where am I going to get my insurance? All of these things that come, identity. I've done this for 30 years. How can I make this change? It's who I am. How do you navigate from where you find yourself in the career, if it's not fulfilling and not making you feel like you have a purpose, to move towards the career that's supposed to? You build out a plan. You say, hey, in order to do this other thing I want to do, I need to save money. Or we'll go on my partner's insurance. I'll call Morgan out. I didn't warn her beforehand, but she's going to be a part of this talk once again. Morgan's full-time job is not a photographer. It will be, and that's what she wants it to be, but in a situation with photography and with Morgan, she has a couple options. One option could be, I'm going all in on photography today. I'm going to eat ramen noodles. I'm going to Airbnb out my house and sleep in my car. I know somebody who did that. Her name is Box the Artist. She's a local artist. She was on my podcast. She Airbnb'd her house and slept in her car so she could make the money so she could pursue her arts. You could go all in with the belief that, hey, if I'm giving all of my attention and energy towards this thing, I will find my success faster. That could be one way. Or your plan could be, I'm going to do evening gigs like this one, and daytime ones like you did earlier today, Morgan, and I'm going to build up my client base. I'm going to build additional income to help me, and it might take me longer, but that aligns more with who I am in the way that's best for me in my current situation, so that one day I wake up and I look at my list of clients and I say, hey, I've got enough potential of income here and the referrals that I'm getting to replace what I was making in the job that doesn't fulfill me. Now this transition becomes a lot easier. But you have to have that plan. You have to know why you're working in the evening, extending your day, because it's to get you to the point where you can do it full time. So planning for how are you going to navigate the career from one place to another, but also all of the things that come with it. The income, the benefits, the identity. How do you handle all of that as you make this transition? So career is a big one. And again, you don't necessarily have to change your career, but if you do, there's planning that goes with it. Friends. So we know that we're told we're the average of the 5 people we spend our most time with. And we're going to strip family out because that may, sway it a little bit. But if the people that you're surrounded with the most, whether that is in person or your social media friends and your network there, if they are not aligned with the version of yourself that you're trying to become and the direction that you're trying to go, they got to go. So the friends part is, I'm not saying it's easy either, but they got to go. The friends part is identifying who gets to stay with you. And as Martin Lawrence used to say on Martin, who's got to get to step in? Because if your authentic life, yes, I got some laughs. Trying to lighten the mood on some of these. Good old Martin. So if you're trying to get to this authentic life that is so important, but you have people who are dragging you down because of their energy, or they're just not moving in the same direction of you, you're not going to reach your authentic life. So how do you plan to, adjust these relationships? And maybe it's not a total severance of the relationship. Maybe it's you spend less time with them. A few ways you can do it. Quiet quitting was all the rage during COVID. You could quiet quit your friends, meaning you don't call them, and if they don't call you, you just naturally drift. It's nobody's fault. It's probably the approach I would go because I'm a wimp when it comes to confrontation. And it might not be the best way, but at least that way no one can point to the other because you both drifted apart. So you can quiet quit your friends. You can have that tough conversation. And maybe that is the right one for that friend, because maybe that tough conversation wakes them up and they realize, hey, I'm not doing what I should be doing. It's actually more important for me to continue to ride with you, and they change what they're doing. They find their authentic life and they keep up with you. Or they curse you, they're no longer your friend, and you move on. But as time goes on, those feelings mend themselves and everybody's where they're supposed to be, and you're better off because you don't have that dead weight. And I know that sounds heartless, but the reality of it is it's true. And we care about our friends, and sometimes it's long-term relationships, but at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility to fix your friend. It's on them. And that tough conversation should be a wake-up call for them. And that's the best thing you can do. That, and lead by example. Show them how much better you can be when you're your best version of yourself, and motivate them to become theirs. Or you can do some, combination of those two. You can have a soft conversation and just not reach out to them too much. But you really need to surround yourselves with people who are going to be aligned with you and who are going to make you better and push you in the right direction. So the people that you're with, your friends, are very, very important. Which takes to networking, building out your network. So if you're shedding some of the people who don't need to be there with you anymore, that aren't helping you, identifying people who are. And sometimes it's as easy as you already know the individual and you just start hanging out with them more. Other times it's identifying people that are doing the things you want to do and figuring out how to get in the same rooms as them. So if you know there are people in your town that you want to be surrounded by because of what they're doing, and it aligns with you, and you just so happen to know that they might go to a certain restaurant every Thursday for cocktails or drinks after work, what prevents you from just happening to be there? And you happen to be there another week, and then this conversation comes up and it naturally goes. Now, I'm not encouraging you to be a stalker and get restraining orders slammed against you, but if you just happen to be there, they don't know any better. And now you're just naturally interacting with these people and building out your network. And this is something that I did unintentionally very, very well, and it served me very well. Not to use very well twice, but it was amazing what it did for me. I'm going to do the camera thing as I always do, and then I'll come back to that. Okay, so the networking component of it. When I launched my firm, there were a group of advisors and financial professionals that were doing some very creative writing and content, and I looked up to them. I looked up to who they seemed to be, the type of work that they did, and the way that they educated people about finance. And I remember telling myself, I want to be like one ring of circle of influence below them. The imposter in me said I could never be eye to eye with them, so I just wanted to get closer to them. And I ended up doing that, and actually same circle as them now, which is really cool and weird to say, but the way I did it was by supporting them. An example of one of these people was Morgan Housel. Morgan Housel wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. It sold 4 million copies worldwide. It's still selling. Probably the best financial book of our lifetime. And he just released another book that's probably going to do the same numbers. Morgan has been my favorite writer for years. And I used to do a weekly mixtape on my blog, which was just basically a curation of my favorite blog posts from the week. But every week, Morgan was number one. It was Morgan, and then everything else kind of just depended on what came out. And when I would create this mixtape, I would share it publicly to let people read it. And I would always tag the people who were in it. And I didn't tag it to get their attention, to be like, hey, look at me. It was more of, I want you to know I appreciate what you wrote and I really enjoyed it and I want to share it with my audience. And when you do that week after week after week after week, eventually that person kind of recognizes, who is this person that keeps on sharing my work? And I'll never forget going to a conference in California, walking up and seeing Morgan talking to another friend of mine and introducing myself, and he said, oh, I know who you are. And not that I would say Morgan is a great friend of mine, but I know I can email him and he'll email me back. I was in New York City one time and he saw on Twitter I was in New York City and he DM'd me and we met for coffee. I got him to write the cover quote for a book that my community, the AGC, published. So all because it started with I was a fan of his, I wanted to support him, and then he became a part of my network. Josh Brown is another one, another finance guy. He's somebody that I looked up to for a long time, considered him a mentor. I used to take him out to dinner. I'd fly out to New York City for a special trip to take him out to dinner. And he has done so much for me over my career and been very kind. But as you think about building this network out with people you want to be around, it's really intimidating sometimes to think, well, they provide so much value to me. How can I provide value to them? And I would tell you, if you're genuine and authentic about the relationship, you will provide value to them in ways you won't know. So I used to send Josh books. I took him to dinner, trying to monetarily show him how much I appreciate him and telling him as well. And I'll never forget reading his blog post one day, and it was about individuals who will never give up or always kind of persevere. And so I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, this is my stuff. I agree with all this stuff. And then I see my name. I did a double take. My name was in Josh Brown's post on the Reformed Broker as somebody that he looked at for inspiration to continue to pursue on. I had no idea. I never would have thought that Josh, who's on CNBC and runs this big firm and does all these cool things, would even look at me beyond just he's helping me out because he's paying it forward. Yet somehow, because of who I was, I provided value to him and he's a part of my network. So the point of stressing all that and sharing those stories was maybe a little bit of a flex. But also to show you that you can be in the rooms with the people that you feel will push you forward. You just have to go about it in a genuine and authentic way, and not from a standpoint where you're trying to take from them. And you have to find a way to make it mutual. And if you're a genuine and authentic about it, it will be mutual in ways you'd never expect it to be. So networking is an important part. How are you going to do that? What's your game plan for meeting the people that you need to meet? Or putting yourself in the positions to meet the people that you need to meet? Maintaining your personal alignment. Spirit, mind, body, and money. You've gotten that in alignment if we're at this stage of beginning to design your plan. How do you maintain it? Well, one of it is just planning out your day potentially to say, all right, every morning I'm doing the things I need to do, or every afternoon I'm doing the thing I need to do. So thinking of how are you taking care of your spirit? How are you connecting to your spirit? How are you taking care of your mind? How are you taking care of your body? The money I'm less worried about. So if the body thing happens to be yoga or working out, are you doing that regularly so you stay in alignment? And then, once you have that plan, sticking to it. And being able to be honest with yourself of if there's a time where you're falling out of alignment, what is your plan to pull yourself back into alignment? How do you know when you're out, and how do you get back in? Having a game plan. And writing these things down is a good thing, so you know, hey, I'm out of alignment, this is what I said I'm going to do, so you don't forget. But just knowing that is going to be really important. So planning for maintaining the personal alignment that you have between spirit, mind, and body is another area that you should plan for as you go on your pursuit. And then the final one is the money part. I told you this will be brief. But again, we live in a world where we live in a physical world. Money is a part of our pursuit. It's a part of our plan. So how are you going to account for the financial changes that might be coming into play because of the pursuit that you're going on? And, it could be working with a professional. It could be spending more time on your own. It could be, Mint is now gone, but using a software to analyze your budget so you know where your spending's going so you can have a better grasp of your money. But being able to address that and having a plan for that is also a part of it. So those are only a handful of different areas that would require planning, that if I were to ask you, what's your plan for your authentic life, you might not think about those things. But they really do require some thought and some planning to be able to navigate those waters smoothly. And I believe your authentic life and the pursuit of it is going to require you to be able to handle those. And then whatever other ones that might be out there that are unique to you. Again, these are just examples. There's infinite things that you might have in your life that you need to plan for. Could be planning how do you incorporate the care of an elderly parent as a part of your pursuit. Tons of things are out there. You'll know what you need to plan because they're going to be presenting the next part, which is obstacles for you. So you've identified the plan, which is great, but a plan is worthless if you don't set it into motion. And once you begin to set things into motion or think about how you're going to set them into motion, now you might uncover obstacles. So you have to address those obstacles as a part of your plan. And wouldn't you know that last week I go through a training that gave me a formula for how to navigate obstacles. I didn't write tonight's speech until earlier this week. So as the universe loves to do for me, it brings me the things just when I need it. The flow of life always takes care of me. I didn't know exactly how I was going to end the talk until I finished my class last week. So that I have a simple formula that will help you navigate the obstacles. And we'll go through it. But when you take the answers to solving the obstacles and bring them to your plan for all those areas that are important, now you have a concrete plan that you can move forward with. And a lot of times, the answers to the obstacle questions are your to-do actions that are going to move you forward. So you know the things that you're needing to plan for. You discover the obstacles amongst each of them, and then I'm going to tell you how you can work through those obstacles, which gives you the steps to move forward. And now you have a plan. A plan does not become live until you put it into motion. So how do we navigate obstacles once we identify them? An obstacle is just basically that thing preventing you from taking the next step, or that thing preventing you from living your authentic life. 4 words, really simple. What, how, when, and who. I couldn't think of a cool word acronym for it. So what, how, when, and who. So the what. What can you do about this obstacle? The how. How are you going to do it? The when. When are you going to do it? That's an easy one. And the who is who can help you with the work that you need to do. So let's go back to the what. What can you do about this obstacle? We all know in life we can only control certain things. There are a lot of things that become obstacles with us that we have no control over. Roman just started his 7th grade basketball season. And to a surprise to me and a lot of other people, he did not start the season out as a starter on the team. And I say that's a surprise because Roman is a very good basketball player. And I'm not just saying this because I'm his dad, because of all of the parents I know, I'm probably the most critical of my kids and their abilities. I never want to be the parent that takes his son or daughter to American Idol knowing that they can't sing, shocked that they didn't get a ticket to move on. How many, the show was built on those people and making fun of them. I never want to be that parent. I want to be honest with their skills and what they should be doing. And I believe that Roman probably should have been starting from day one. And what I told him was, look, man, you can't control the coach. You can't control what lineup he wants to put out there. You can't control the style of play he wants to play. What you can control is your attitude. You can control your emotions. And you can control the effort that you put out on the court. You can focus on taking good shots, so you give yourself an increased chance at scoring, and you can focus on making good passes. You can focus on being a leader and a good teammate. Those are all things within your control. And if you can control those, and you do those to the best of your ability, then you walk off the court every night knowing you did your best, and there's nothing more you could have done because you can't control the rest. And I'll be damned if he didn't do that and started last night. But he focused on the things that he could control. So I wanted to come up with an example of what could be something that we could walk through each of these. And I didn't want to use basketball and Roman the whole time. So not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, but entrepreneurship, I think a lot of people sometimes think they want to. And so imagine that you are wanting to start a business as a part of your authentic life. And as we get to that, you identify the obstacle. One of your obstacles is I don't know how I'm going to fund this venture when it's time to make the leap. So funding is the obstacle. And the first question is, well, what can you do about that? Well, I can make sure that I have a way to have money when the time comes. You could do loans, you could do fundraising, or you can save money. Those are things you can do about the money issue you might have to start your business. So let's just say you decide that, okay, those are what I can do. How am I going to do this? How am I going to get the money that I need? Well, I'm going to save to be able to do that. Well, now you got your how. How is the action part of the what are you going to do? Just identifying what you can do is half the equation. You got to actually do something about it. So you know what to do. Now you have to actually do it, and that's the how. So we need money when it comes time to launch. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to save money. Well, in that saving money, there's steps you need to take. So when are you going to actually do something about it? And before I get to what the when could be in this, I think it's important to set some guidelines. When you're at the when part of it, you need to pick a specific date. And I would encourage you to pick a specific date that's not too far off. There's this thing called Parkinson's Law, which Parkinson's Law says that basically the task in front of you will take as long as the time that you allot to it. Meaning, if you give yourself 1 month to open up your checking account or your savings account, you're going to open that savings account up on day 29. You're going to take a month to open up a savings account. Versus if you give yourself a week, you're going to open it up by the week, on the 6th day. You're always going to take the time that you've allotted. It's just the way we work. So pick a date that's close, that is realistic for the goal that you have. And you will end up stacking these steps. So if the first goal is, I need to open a savings account by next Wednesday. The second goal is, I need to set up an automatic direct deposit into that savings account on every payday by the following Friday. And now you're checking things off. And these wins become wins with an I. You're getting little victories along the way, which is building momentum and building confidence that's going to keep you moving through. So pick a date, make it close, and keep on stacking those wins so you're always moving forward towards where you need to be going. And then the who. Who do you need to help you? Well, in the case of the savings account, really the who is you. And I don't think you should go at this alone. So whose can be a person who executes for you. Get something you need to do in the house because you want to sell it. The who might be a carpenter. Like they're actually going to do the work, so that's the person you need to help you do the job. But in a situation where opening a bank account, that's on you. So now your who can actually be an accountability person. So your partner or your spouse or a friend. Hey, I'm going to open a bank account by next Wednesday. Make sure I do it. And now you have the who to help you move forward. And just to show you how this kind of continues to stack and evolve, let's say you realize, well, with what I can save right now, my next obstacle is I'm not going to have enough by the time I want to launch. So now the problem is I don't have enough. Well, what can I do about it? Well, I need to find somebody to help me build a plan to save enough. The win is I need to find that person by 2 weeks out. And the who might be a financial advisor. And in that, the financial advisor is a part of this, says, hey, the way that you do that, your how now is you need to scale back how much you're putting in your 401k. Not very many financial advisors will tell you that, but the good ones will. Scale back the amount of money you're putting in the 401k, so now you have more money month to month that you can save. And between what you were already saving and the additional money you have now because you're not saving as much in your 401k, you will have the money that you need to launch your business and move forward with your authentic life. That's all you do. You identify the obstacle, you identify what you can do about it, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, and who's going to help you. Rinse and repeat. Keep on doing that, and that's moving you through. And those obstacles become a lot less scary. They become easier to navigate. The obstacle may be the way, as Ryan Holiday says, or you might find a way around it, but you're going to navigate that obstacle and keep on moving forward. And then that becomes your plan. You've got where you're going, what you want, the changes you're making, and you're navigating all of the obstacles as they come with four simple questions. So, 4 simple questions. What, how, when, and who. And that becomes your plan. How you organize this plan is up to your personal preference. You might want to have a notebook. You might want to run spreadsheets and put it all in there. You might just want to have a cluster of Post-it notes all over the place. Whatever works for you to continue this progress and moving forward is what is the right way to do it. There is no one right way to design this plan other than design it for the place that you want to go, with the way that you're going to be able to do it, with the people who are going to help you do it. So unlike every other talk, tonight I actually have a solution for you to walk away with. And it's 4 simple words. What, how, when, and who. And there's the old saying, there's multiple versions of it, but I'll go Ben Franklin, because I went to Franklin College and named after him. He says, failing to plan is preparing to fail. Don't prepare to fail when the answer to your plan is 4 simple questions. That's it. That's it. Thank you.